Good day, good lunch we had today, good time last night, so it's been an all-around good day. I want to mention just a few things related to tonight. Remind you at the end of the service, we will have a time of business dealing with some issues related to Bobby's retirement, and so we do need you to stay for that. Of course, Bible school is less than a month away. Aren't you excited? All right, Emily is always excited. Do you know Emily texted me the day they released next year's theme?
Just get ready for the glitter.
Yeah.
There's so much glitter.
There'll be glitter everywhere. So Karen, get the vacuum cleaner ready. It's going to be glitter everywhere. All right. Karen's in the nursery. All right. But that's just around the corner. Next year's theme is about crafts and what's it called? Arts and yeah, it's
Music, all
the arts. So that'll be next year. All right. Well, I also want to mention this, that if you'd like some mulch, somebody mentioned this morning, I didn't know where to find the mulch. Well, remember where the tree was? Now it's mulch. And so if you need some mulch, we'd like to get rid of it. And you can, Paul was out here the other day getting mulch for his mama. That was a good son, wasn't he? Out here getting mulch. So you can have all the mulch you want. And I would guess in a few weeks, if it's still there, we will haul it off because it's kind of an eyesore. So go ahead and get the mulch if you'd like. Of course, our regular schedule on Wednesday would ask you to be praying this week. We do have a group going out to Gibson Baptist Church. We did this 2 years ago. We're going to be doing a 3-day vacation Bible school. And so be praying for that 6 to 8, Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. I'll mention, because of that, I'll be out there. Bobby will be leading prayer meeting on Wednesday night. And then they will be pulling out Friday. So if you want to see Bobby Wednesday and he'll be sharing with you, please be a part of that, because that's important. And I think that's all we have in terms of announcements. So let's go ahead and stand for just a second. And hopefully you've seen everybody today, but if there's somebody you have not talked to today, make sure you find them across the room, shake their hand, tell them you're glad to see them. Let's do that.
Oh, that you are mean. You better give Brother Bobby a hug.
I'm gonna miss you.
I'm gonna miss you. Well, before Brother Steve gave me his sermon for Sunday morning, he came to me and he says, I want you to just pick a couple of your favorites for Sunday night. Well, this song we're fixing to sing right now, it is one of my all-time favorites because it speaks to me so strongly. Because, I mean, God convicts me every time I sing this song. And I really believe that the message in it, I mean, I don't know who wrote this, but they wrote it for me. Christ is enough. Christ is my reward, and all of my devotion. Now there's nothing in this world that could ever satisfy. Through every trial, my soul will sing, no turning back. I've been set free. Christ Christ my all in all, the joy of my salvation. And this hope will never fail. Heaven is our home. Through every storm, my soul will sing, Jesus is here. To God be the glory. Christ is enough for me. Christ is enough for me. Everything I need is in you. Everything I need. I have decided to follow Jesus. No turning back, no turning back. I have decided to follow Jesus. No turning back, no turning back. The cross before me, the world behind me. No turning back, no turning back. The cross before me, the world darkest valleys, we will look back at all you have done, and we will shout, our God is good, and He is the faithful one. Hallelujah, hallelujah, to the one from whom all blessings flow. Hallelujah, hallelujah, to the one whose glory has been shown. We will remember, we will remember, we will remember the works of your hand. We will stop and give you praise, for great is thy faithfulness. I still remember the day you saved me, the day I heard you call out my name. You said you loved me and would never leave me, and I've never been the same. We will remember, we will remember, we will remember the works of your hand. We will stop and give you praise, for great is thy faithfulness. We will remember, we will remember, we will remember the works of your hands. We will stop and give you praise, for great is thy faithfulness. Amen. Our God is faithful. You can be seated.
Tonight being Bobby and Janet's last Sunday with us, and what we did this morning, felt like tonight would be appropriate to do something different. Instead of just having a typical message, I think after a quarter of a century, you need to give a time of sharing and a time of opening up and having people share some personal things. So I've asked a handful of folks to prepare something, and then at the very end of the service, I'll give you an opportunity to stand up if you want to say a brief word. Because we get one shot at this. So, we go ahead and we do that, because sometimes you don't get to say things that you wanted to say. Well, tonight you get that opportunity. It's a time of tribute and thanksgiving and remembering. And so tonight we're going to begin. I've asked Emily to share, and those I've talked to, just follow in the order I gave you. I've spoken to everyone. So.
Okay, I won't roast you. Okay. So I did write stuff down. Hopefully I can read my own handwriting. There have been some highlights in my life of having the Powells a part of my family. We go way back, like Lillian's age back. I don't know if I was quite her age or a little older, because I think I was a little older, but sophomore. Well, maybe not a sophomore. That's when we went for the youth choir tour. So that's where I'm going to start. There was a youth choir, y'all. Brother Bobby led a youth choir. We went on a trip to Baytown, Texas. And Brother Bobby brought us to Six Flags, y'all. I'm going to Six Flags with the youth this year. And I kind of recall that trip to Six Flags, and I'm like, we're really going to Six Flags this year? So yeah, we gave Brother Bobby a real hard time in the youth department. He also took us to Fuge that year, which was my trip to Glorietta, which some of the youth have heard me talk about my trip to Glorietta because we went to Glorietta. But I have some fond memories. But Brother Steve said I could talk for 3 to 4 minutes, so I will leave those Glorietta trip memories back there. But the stories I could tell, like sticks stuck in legs, Brother Bobby had to go to the emergency room with some people. It was fun. Let me tell you, charter bus, whew, poor Miss Janet. Miss Janet roomed with me that year. I still talk that much. Okay. So, I remember Carrie always sitting with me in church. She had a notebook that I kept in my bag with pens like my daughter does now, and Carrie would come sit with me in church and write her notes and color, and I just enjoyed having her sit with me. I've babysat the kids. MacGyver, right? They love MacGyver, which Jason loves MacGyver, so we had a connection there. The boys use my trombone at some point. You share with your family. I have enjoyed watching the kids grow up. I can say this, Carrie won the Rotary Scholarship. Now, we do it all anonymous, but I get to see who wrote what and all of that because I don't judge. And her essay, I still have judges that use her essay as a means to judge other essays. It's still one of my favorites. But I've also missed the Latours come and play bingo with us at Miss Retta's. But I do have some very fond memories of the kids with Miss Retta and us all playing bingo. Well, Brother Bobby, you really didn't play bingo. No, you like church. Yeah. And so I've had many opportunities to be in several choir productions and fuss with Brother Bobby about those outdated hot choir robes. So if you're ever cold in church, there's some choir robes in the back that y'all can go put on because I'm always hot. But I'm so glad we don't have to wear those anymore. And also talking during practice so that he could fuss at me because I was running my mouth. But I also had the privilege of working with Miss Janet in children's choir. Probably one of the favorite musicals that I can recall doing with my kids was Daniel. A picture came up in my time hop the other day of Keller on top of Dylan and Robert's back, like they were doing like a cheerleader pose. It was hilarious. But I have, Brother Bobby and Miss Janet have also taught 2 of my kids in Bible school. They didn't get the opportunity to do Whitley because of COVID. But I also remember when Say Yes to VBS first came out and Brother Bobby was up here on stage and doing Yes to VBS. And I'm going to get to do that with him for 2 nights at Gibson. So it's kind of like comes full circle. But I also have pictures from every one of my children's births or homecomings within the first couple of days that Bobby and Janet were either at my house or at the hospital with me. They were there when Clark came home from the airport. They're a huge part of my family, and I'm going to truly miss them. But I know how important it's going to be for y'all to be near your kids, because I know how important grandparents are. And I can't imagine the feels that Carrie must be going through right now, knowing that y'all are going to be right there with her. So I expect to see more pictures on Facebook, and you can tell Carrie that I said that. I understand if I can't get them on Facebook, you just text them to me. Y'all still got my number. And I know things change as we age, but I'm very glad and very blessed that I was able to make those memories with y'all. Very much. And y'all be very missed.
A roast. 26 years, long time. Brother Steve says a quarter of a century. That's because he's lived 2 quarters. Louis and I are headed to 3 quarters. Well, we have lived 3 quarters. Do the math, Brother Steve. I remember when Bobby and Janet came, and I remember their little children, and then later there was another little child, and how they blessed our lives. One of the children, Carrie, was my granddaughter's good friend, so I saw a lot of Carrie. But the singing family, I told Bobby when he ought to start a Powell, this Powell singing family in Arkansas, and he might do it. But anyway, today I want to talk about what Bobby meant to us and what Bobby meant to me. One thing, when Bobby came those years ago, Bobby, we had a music person for a few years, and then we'd get another one, and then we'd get another one. Bobby was a sticker. 26 years of sticking, and we appreciate that, Bobby. We really do. And he was 64 this past week. When he came, he was about 38. If my math is correct, it doesn't really matter. First impressions of Bobby, that beautiful head of hair. Wow! Elvis, eat your heart out. And it was often talked about. My sister was crazy about his hair. My sister who passed. And she would always talk about Bobby's hair and his eyes when he sang. She'd say, she was crazy about it. Now, there's a problem with the hair, though. And I don't know if y'all know this or not. But several people told Bobby he looked like a person that Bobby didn't like. Bobby didn't like to look like this person. So Bill Clinton, y'all may have been looked a lot alike, but you certainly didn't act alike. So Bobby, now a funny, I asked my Sunday school class to tell me anything that they thought about, that they remembered about Bobby. Well, I had one Sunday school member who said, you know, he looks a lot like, y'all aren't going to believe this, Donald Trump. And I said, yeah, with his hair. Well, I don't know about that. His hair's not red and he doesn't have a pullover. That was John, 2nd John in our Sunday school class. Anyway, I thought that was funny. But, you know, it was mentioned today, Bobby, we call Bobby the shrimp man. And if you wanted to, you know, a trail of crumbs to lead Bobby somewhere, don't use crumbs, use shrimp. Just drop them and he'll swallow it. But he loves shrimp. That's even an understatement. He adored shrimp. That was it. You never had to worry about planning a menu if Bobby was coming to your house. And Janet loves them too, because shrimp it would be. And so that was a good thing. Called the shrimp man. Now there's a bad part of that. I remember sometimes standing in line over in the fellowship hall. When shrimp was on the table, people would say, hurry up, here comes Bobby. And then when there was a gumbo, people would say, don't fish out the shrimp, Bobby. That's true, huh? But Bobby, more important, Bobby was a man of God, is a man of God. There's no past tense there. He uses his talents, all of his talents. His talents, knowing the scripture, his music talent, his talent even growing up with a dad who was a plumber. Let me tell you about Bobby. I called him one night at 10 p.m. Everything in our house was stopped up. I'm telling you, it was major. And it just wasn't stopped. It was flowing over. At 10 p.m., Bobby came over. And he also called a fellow plumber. And they had that unstopped by midnight. So that's love, Bobby. A friend loves at all times. Bobby loved at all times. And you know, I'm talking about Bobby, and I'm talking about Janet too. Janet, I'm sorry, you're not the forgotten person. We love you, and I'll mention some things. The beautiful voice, the music, the choir practices by the hundreds, maybe thousands, Bobby, in 26 years, you think? We always used to get tickled with about Bobby and Janet. Bobby's leading, and somebody says, no. Janet says, no, Bobby, that's not the right key. And he's got his iPad here, and he turns and he says, well, that's what my music shows. And Janet would say, no, Bobby. Or she would say, Bobby, that's too slow. It is? Well, that's the way I've always done it. So their practices were something else. But we had so many things, the Christmas music, the Easter music, Bobby would lead in community services. I mean, just on, and you all know that. He was always there. He was always there to lead us. And I love the story of Bobby and Janet. I was asking him this week to to refresh my memory. Bobby and Janet knew one another through the family, through Janet's family, Janet's brother. But it is when Janet was teaching elementary school in Oakdale, is that right? And Bobby was leading a children's choir for the church there, that they really met and fell in love. And Bobby said they were going to a concert, Wayne Watson, and he was afraid he'd fall asleep. This is the man that's had six totals, so that was very smart. So he invited Janet to drive, and she was the chauffeur, and so they fell in love. Janet's dad had this idea that you should know somebody for a whole year before you married. Not those two. How long was it? 10 days. That's pretty quick, huh? Bobby, your mother was an English teacher. You were indeed fortunate. Yes. And his dad, Bobby's always bringing forth that down-home humor. Brother Steve, do this, and I'll just jump down there and run back to my seat. Down-home humor. Bobby's always talking about his dad and the things he would say. And Nadine recalls this one. We were talking about Bobby. And, you know, we call this corn pone humor. Kids, that means country talk, okay? We know that's country talk. But after hearing a very touching story, this is one of his, he got this from his dad. His dad would say, if that don't stir you, you've lost your spoon. So that was one of them. That one of many, many of his sayings. Bobby was a great supporter of the ABC in Eunice. Did much work up there, led many of the children's camps. Great supporter of that. He was a great LC supporter. Loved Louisiana College and helped them. You served on boards there, I think. Yeah. That's a great thing. One of the things that I enjoyed with Bobby, besides the 1,000 choir practices and music practices, was we went to Alaska together. Bobby's gone 6 times, Janet 3, I went 1 time. I'm telling you, when you go to Alaska with Bobby and with our church, let's see, we were in Baltimore, we were in Philadelphia, we were in Phoenix, New Orleans, Dallas, and I've probably forgotten some. And we were in Anchorage. And in Anchorage, Bobby and Janet was the co-pilot, Bobby was the pilot. And we did much traveling on those Alaskan highways. Such a beautiful place. And we would see the signs, how many moose had been killed on the highways. So we kept our eye on Bobby to make sure he was paying attention. And then when we went to the glacier, when we went to the mountain, and some of the people went up on the glacier, Bobby led the troops right up that trail to the glacier. Now at the bottom of the mountain there, at the beginning of the trail, said, bears sighted, careful. I didn't go to the glacier. Bobby went to the glacier. But so many things, and I have so many notes. Bobby's a friend, he loves it. He loves us. I know he loves the Lord, and I know that he serves the Lord in any way that he can, and the Lord has good things planned for him. We appreciate Janet. I love to hear Janet play the piano. I went with Bobby and Janet when we bought this piano, and it has done some singing, huh? Oh, it's so pretty. Janet, thank you for sharing your beautiful music with us. And thank you for keeping him straight. That's right. And it's just, Carol Seeline said that Bobby's moving to Arkansas. She said, grandkids make you do the darndest things. So they're off to Arkansas. And we say goodbye to them, but we know that we should say until we meet again. Because we will meet again. If not on this earth, we know that we'll meet on that glorious shore and be at Jesus' feet. So we love y'all. Thank y'all. for all the years and all the thousands and millions of things that we don't even know about, because I know you served. Love you. If that, what does that say? Let me give it. If that don't stir you, then you've lost your spoon.
I don't know how you follow Miss Vic, but I won't be that long, I promise you, okay? Brother Bobby and Miss Janet, I can honestly say that I'm not where I am today in my life spiritually if it's not for you. 8 years ago, Brother Bobby introduced me to La Basic. It was a thing that I'd heard about through his kids, but not something that I ever really thought I would do. I was fine with singing in church. I could sing a special. It's about all I wanted. I never thought I would tour the country for 4 summers and meet friends and relationships that will last a lifetime. And if it wasn't for you, I wouldn't have been there. And there is no person that pushes that trip like he does in the state. Churches don't allow their music ministers to advertise it because they do their own thing. And I can't tell you the number of people that I've met that missed out on some of their opportunities to go on that trip. And it's a regret, and I'm thankful. I'm so thankful that I got to experience all of them. Miss Janet, when I was 6 years old, I started taking lessons with you, and I didn't like it, and I quit. And it's the biggest regret of my life. After school as a 6-year-old or a 7-year-old, the last thing you want to do is sit inside and practice. You want to watch something, you want to watch your shows, you want to go outside. So I quit. And about 8 years ago, I was like, all right, I'm going to pick up where I left off and see if I can teach myself. And never in a million years would I have thought that I would be up here leading worship. And it's all because of you. And I thank you so much. And we'll miss you. And you can move to Arkansas, but please don't root for them. Don't root for Arkansas. Please do me a favor. You can move there, but don't root for them. Okay. But thank you so much. But thank y'all just for the love and the friendships. Thank you so much.
Well, a lot of you said a lot of things that goes on, but 26 years, a lot of stuff goes on. If I would put a topic, it would be more than just a music man. So much more. How many of you's worked on your plumbing or anything at the house? Anybody? Yeah, look at the hands. Brother Bobby come over there in his overalls. You know what I'm talking about is the overall thing, and whether it be the toilet, the sink, the tub, the leak, the clogged drain, whatever, and he would come over. You just had to say a word and he would be there. And I'm so thankful that he was there to help. And Miss Janet, you allow him to go. You know, I think that's the big thing to when your husband's out the house and doing lots of things. It's a joint effort, but you have a servant's heart. Thank you for playing golf. You're getting to go to Arkansas and be able to play golf, but started my dad playing golf, and y'all spent Fridays. Every Friday, going playing golf and having a good time. And thank you for that. Our church did golf scrambles. Any of y'all played in that, golf scrambles? A few left of us, not many of those years, but many years of that. Really good ministry there. I already mentioned before the work with ABC Camp. I thought that was huge for James coming this morning. Brother Bobby's worked tons with plumbing over there, giving and just taking our groups to RAGA, Camp Missions Camp, and the work there for years and years and years and years. When Brother Bobby sings, he smiles. His spirit comes out. His love for the Lord comes out, and much appreciated for that. The best staffer that my dad's had to work with in the whole years and stability. Tons of musicals, cantatas, from the Burrick Civic Center to the Bayou Vista Civic Center to back here, in here, many, many, many places. And so a lot of sharing God's love and what he's done for us in our life, a lot of time. But when Brother Bobby came here, don't believe, I had to go back and look, but there was no computers where their daddy in 95. But Brother Bobby put us into the computer age, believe it or not. From technology has moved us on. From sound, and from sound used to be up there in the little booth up there. So many things have moved on. We've moved even to drums. And guitars. Brother Bobby, a couple years ago, I don't remember, picked up the guitar again and worked and do that. That's a difficult thing at an age to pick those things up. Just remember when we went to tracks and then live, and so many things that he's moved doing his ministry. As Tyler brought up about LeBasic, for our church, we were one of the leader ones in the state, like I said, but being able to be pushed, I don't know if it'll ever happen again, but we've had some folks who have lifetimes of memories and lifetimes of serving the Lord and doing that. We appreciate that. He loves the youth. He's given to our youth from that trip in '97 to many others, to from choir tours and things like that. Thank you for sharing your kids, Matthew, Mark, and Carrie. As they go on and serve the Lord, different places. But down about he loves shrimp. We could talk about our revival services when we used to have covered dish, and Brother Bobby would always at the end of it say, and make sure you bring shrimp. Tomorrow's seafood day. I think that was Wednesday. The Wednesday on those. Okay, from his doing the VBS, and Miss Janet, so much time she has worked with our children's choirs, and then but with our music, and just been a support of him. And so we thank you and we love you, Miss Janet, so much that you have done. As I look through this and go through, it almost looks like it's a eulogy. He's not dying. God's not done with you. He's not. And so I look forward to hearing what God's going to be doing with you in Arkansas. And I'm thankful that you'll be with family. Really, really so. Grandkids and kids, special thing. But I know that Oakdale and Oak Grove, sorry, not Oakdale, Oak Grove. But hopefully that you'll decide, call this home. For I believe you when you came 26 years ago, came together, and many faithful things. You're a faithful man of God and a friend. We love you both. Thank you.
To be at the end, because they've told everything he's going to say. But if you saw the emotion that I have picked up by my son, that hope you'll bear with that. Anyway, what do you do to summarize 26 years here in this area? And about half of that time, we were together on staff. I remember the days he came, the talks we had. some things he experienced in other churches. Won't go into that, but this is where you need to be, Bobby. Grateful for it. So I wrote down a lot of things, and my wife happened to pick it up. And she says, how much you are going to be able to give? I said, 3 minutes, Brother Steve said. He said, you won't get off the first point. So nevertheless, I just shrunk it down a little bit, and I just put it into 3 different categories. One, Bobby, as a friend. I've been blessed by both of your ministry here at the church, and it's good to have a friend that's on staff with you. I count it a privilege for Paul and Bobby coming on about the same month in this church in 95. But Bobby, you and I have shared many meals together on the road, traveling to conventions and all kind of things. And if we went to Cracker Barrel, he didn't need to order because I could order for him, because I knew what he was going to order every time. And I have seen him fix his coffee so many times, I could fix his coffee. I take mine black, but he adds everything in the world to it. And but I said, you really like that? It was really makes me think of what you get in New Orleans Cafe du Monde, where they pour so much milk or something into it. Anyway, but and then Bobby, I just think of the things others we share together. Paul mentioned about golf. I don't think I had only picked up a golf club one time in my life until you came. And I got out there and I was a mess. But thankfully I improved a little bit. And but we got to play together every Friday for over a decade. We'd have Lennox Guidry to come over, and he'd always take us out to lunch afterwards, and we just had a great time. Now, there's one thing about golf that I'm still not 100% sure about. When Gabrielle was born on March the 4th, 2005, Bobby with some others were playing at the golf course in Franklin, and he told me that he had a hole-in-one. I can't guarantee it because I wasn't there. I was seeing my granddaughter, Gabrielle, being born. But anyway, had some good experiences, didn't we? Just to be able to share together. Sometimes we cried, sometimes we laughed, but that's part of life. And that's so important. So the first thing is as a friend. And then the second thing is a staff member. Bobby has been faithful in the work here at Bayou Vista for 26 years. I'm grateful for that. Another thing, while I was pastor, I never felt like that I had to look over your shoulder to be sure you carried something out. That's not always been the case in the past, but I'm grateful for that I could depend upon you to do what was needed to be done. We've spoken about plumbing. Well, some of you may have heard this, but I had Bobby to come over the house. We didn't know what was going on. I came in one day from work, and I saw water coming off out of a spout up on the roof. So I asked Bobby to come over and check it out. Well, it had been raining. Or no, it hadn't been raining. It was just where that water was coming from. It was slippery. So Bobby said, I'll get up there. So he wants a ladder, so we get a ladder. And when we get the ladder, Bobby said, I'm going to get up. I said, Bobby, are you sure? Well, so I stood behind him and tried to anchor the ladder. And he tries to put his hands on the roof and throw himself up. Well, it didn't work. We have a hurricane fence that runs right along beside that. Bobby came all the way down, and I moved that ladder out of the way because I knew it was going to hit it. He fell at my feet, he missed that hurricane fence by about that far. But anyway, you have helped us so much and so many other people in so many things, and I'll never forget that. I'll never forget it. And the third thing, as an example, we've seen his children and Janet's grow up in this church. They were here on a regular basis, and they set the tone for that. Now he's going to get to be in the same community as two of them, and not that far away from Matthew. And the whole those grandbabies, they showed me a picture of the grandbabies, but it'll be a special time for you to share that with them. Not only, I already told him, don't root for the Hogs, but well, he said, I'm not doing the suey pig and all that stuff, you know. But in any event, because I think the others are just, they're into it big time. But we saw your children grow up. All three of them came to know the Lord as their personal Savior. And not only that, but they're all active in churches. Two of them are on staff in churches in Arkansas. And another is very active in the church that she and Triggs share together. You know, how do you sum up something? I just pray, Bobby, that the Lord will go before you. He'll prepare the way. He's not through with you. And I pray that this will be a move that will enhance your life as you get older. It's interesting. He's a numbers guy. I'm a numbers guy. And so I think about it. Well, there were 18 years difference between the two of us and 26 years difference between the two of us. But you have enriched my life, both of you. I pray for you. I pray we're going to hear great things. Let's not lose touch. And let's seek to serve the Lord together. Amen.
I just want to share some highlights in the 12 years I've had to work with Bobby, and some of these are overlapping because when you get this far in the program, you're going to overlap. Bobby, I think the most significant thing that I appreciated during our time serving, and this has been a few years ago, and I wish times would have allowed us to do more of these, but I so enjoyed, it was in 2011, doing Bow the Knee. The first year we did it was over at Berwick. Second year we did it was here at Bayou Vista Community Center. And that first year especially, we had over 1,000 people attend to see Bow the Knee, and it was so well done. We left that and I thought, I hate that we got to quit doing this. It was just a tremendous experience. I know we had done a bunch of them in previous years where I came, and that was really the last large production we did. Of course, we did smaller productions at Christmas, but I'm thinking, I'd heard about the legacy of the other things that were done, and I really, really enjoyed doing Bow the Knee. I remember a funny thing, and you're going to remember this. The first year we did it at Berwick, and we decided, well, let's just move it to see if it changes the crowd we get. And we did it at the Bayou Vista Community Center. And so we do it there, and it's the first night of the play. And we're at the end of the musical, and Jesus is resurrecting from the grave. And the stone rolls away, and the smoke machine goes off and sets off the fire alarm in the whole building. But it's not an ordinary fire alarm. It has words to it. And I'll never forget this. The smoke went up and it's going, danger, danger, fire, fire. I thought, how do you end the play? We just kept going. I mean, we're going through the play, fire, danger. And I thought, and then it struck me, and I shared this in the invitation that night. We didn't do that the next two nights, though. We changed it. And I said, do you know what? When the resurrection happens, it screams at us, danger, fire. If you don't deal with the resurrection, you're in danger of fire. And so what a tremendous night. I remember that. That was a lot of fun. Like you, Brother Charles, I got to go to many meetings with Bobby, and no one said this, so I'm going to share this. Here's what I've learned about going out of town with Bobby. You've got to fall asleep before him because he snores very loudly. He snores. And so on a couple, I don't know how many trips we've been on, but I'd go ahead, and Bobby would bring his iPad in later years, and he'd say, you mind if I watch TV? I said, no, you go ahead, I'm going to go to sleep. And so he'd have his earphones in, and he'd be watching. In latter years, I got to fall asleep pretty easily. But in some of those earlier years, I remember one trip in particular, I had the pillow over this ear, and I got the other one. It's like, somebody stopped the storm. I mean, it was terrible. But I remember the convention, 2012, we went to New Orleans for the Southern Baptist Convention. One kind of neat thing, we stayed at, I think, the Hampton Inn right there down from the convention center. And we are walking into the hotel, and lo and behold, who do we see? We see Alec Kendrick from all those Sherwood movies. Remember that? And he comes walking out, and we took pictures with him, and that was kind of cool to see him. But my favorite moment from that, you know what I'm getting ready to share. And Brother Charles was there. I've shared this before in church. It is the final benediction of the Southern Baptist Convention 2012. And we're sitting there, and Brother Charles is with us, and there's a couple behind us. We say amen. It's this older man and his wife, and we just kind of shook hands, and he looked at me and said, and he pointed to Bobby and said, so you here for the convention with your dad? I thought that was great. I just loved that, Brother Charles. That was wonderful. And so I've used that over the years. Some people mentioned Alaska. This was a great thing. I just appreciate we did this. You might remember Brenda Krim came to our church. Probably was around, 2010, 2011, and did a missions presentation, and we talked about it and said, why don't we just go to Alaska? We've never done anything like that. Let's go to Alaska. And Sarah was still small, and I said, Tammy, why don't you go on the trip, and I'll stay home with Sarah and let you get that experience. And Bobby, you head the trip up. And by the way, the reason you went through all those airports, Miss Marilyn, is because we couldn't get a group reservation for the price we wanted. That's the way it worked. And so we had like 18 or 20 that first year. It was going to cost more, so we went ahead and went on Expedia, and we got all these all over the place rates and got to Alaska. But those Alaska trips, we did that, and then the next year we went to Haiti. You might remember, of course, Sarah Ceylon was in Haiti, and so we had concurrent trips. I thought that was a great season in the life of our church. And Bobby handled Alaska. I never went with the church. I went prior to us coming here, and a lot of you went to Alaska. I'm just curious, if you went to Alaska, raise your hand. Went with Bobby to Alaska. Yeah, just a great time. And I think one of the awesome things about that, and we didn't know it at the time, is how many people that would impact those trips. Brother Larry's not here, is he? Larry Hobbs fell in love with Alaska. It changed Larry Hobbs' life. And so, Bobby, thank you for doing that, all those years and continuing to go, because it changed. He fell in love with that place. I don't know how many times Larry went after that. If we don't go to Alaska, Alvin and Lana never go to Alaska. They fell in love with it and went multiple times, stayed up there for 6 years because we kept going to Alaska. It touched lives. And then I'll say this, Dean, you went to Alaska one of the last times we went, and then Jamie Jackson went. And part of that was partnering with our Calumet friends. And so those were the early days of really forming that strong bond, going to Alaska together, before we even knew that we would be doing what we're doing right now. So those are great times. I'll share this, and I think this touches me as much as anything, Bobby, about your time here. And that would be when Mark and Matthew would come and sing with voices, because they came every year. And let me tell you what I always would watch Bobby when his kids would come sing. Because you know what I knew he was going to do? He was going to bawl like a baby out of pride and thankfulness. And I'd be sitting over here and you'd be over here, and you just had tears going down your face as you'd hear Matthew sing and Mark sing. And I always admired the fact this man just adores his kids and is so thankful to God that they have followed the Lord faithfully, and so that's very meaningful. And you're going to get to see him now all the time, which is really good. Tyler, you mentioned LaBasic. Going way back, Matthew went, and then Mark went, and then, of course, Carrie went. And Carrie was near the end, I think, of her experience, right? And that's when you started. And so most around the state didn't know about LaBasic, Louisiana Baptist All-State Youth Choir. In fact, I had not heard of it till we came here, because we may have gotten mail about it, but we just never did anything with it. And so we started it. I tell you, that's going to leave a legacy for years to come in the life of Bayou Vista Baptist Church. And you're pushing it and letting your kids go really made a difference. You notice tonight we had Tyler playing the piano, who went on LaBasic. We had Blaze on the drums, who went on LaBasic. We had Robert on the bass, who went on LaBasic. And so you didn't know this, but in sending kids to LaBasic, you have led the church to where it will be when you're not here. LaBasic set the stage for the future music ministry of our church. And for that, we're very thankful. So next Sunday, Tyler will start leading our worship for the time being. And Tyler's done it for a number of weeks, so, over the last couple of years when Bobby would be out. You said it earlier. If you don't go on LaBasic, you're not leading next Sunday. Abram's not here tonight, but Abram went on LaBasic. It made an impact on Abram's life, and now he's doing significant things. He's in South Carolina now in an internship. Sarah's here tonight. Again, LaBasic made an impact. She's a vocal major and be a senior this coming year. And Megan, Megan went on LaBasic. Megan was one of the quietest things you've ever seen in life. And now Megan's discipling kids, and because she went on LaBasic, it made a tremendous difference in her life. I mentioned Blaze and Robert and Dylan, and there's many, many others. Just for the sake of showing this, if you went on LaBasic, stand up. Bobby, I want you to see who went on LaBasic that's here. And there's others. And thank God for the impact of LaBasic. And that's credited to Bobby's leadership related to that. And then I want to say one more thing, and then Bobby's going to come and share. I've pastored 31 years now, and 6 different churches. The first ones were short. The first church was 1 year and 8 months. Second church, 2 years, 4 months. Third church, 3 years. Fourth church, 4 years, 10 months. Fifth church, 6 years, 8 months. And then we've been here almost 12 years. And you know what I've come to learn about serving? You don't appreciate where you minister till after you leave it. You really don't. You don't appreciate it till after you leave it. And then you're also not appreciated until after you leave. We've talked about this over the years, Tammy and I. And Brother Charles, you've seen that as well. That you see it differently away from it, and you're seen differently when you're away from it. And I will say this because I believe this is true, and it's been true in my ministry. Bobby, you will not really appreciate your impact till you step away. And I don't think as a church we'll appreciate Bobby's impact until he steps away. And we'll both say, praise God for what we have. Because when you step back from things, you say, wow, maybe when I'm right in the middle of it, I don't see it for everything that it's worth. So Bobby, you're loved, and you're going to leave a void. We do appreciate all that you've done over these years and all the significant things we've gone through. Paul made a great statement about all the technological things. Bobby was at the forefront of most of the technological advances that we've had in our church. And so let me say this, as it says in Scripture, well done, good and faithful servant.
I'm afraid they stole my thunder on a lot of the things I was going to share. As Brother Charles said, we moved here in 1995, and Brother Charles loves to tell the story how he went over to First Baptist Morgan City, where my brother-in-law, Max Hutto, was the minister of music and education. And Brother Charles asked him if he knew of anybody looking for a ministry job of music and education. And Max reached over on the corner of his desk, and he had my resume, and he handed it to Brother Charles. And I'm so thankful that God led me to give that resume to Max, because as Brother Charles alluded to a little bit, we were struggling in Salado. Janet had had struggles with having Mark, and the pastor was very supportive of Cooperative Baptist Fellowship. I won't get into all that, but he and I did not see eye to eye, and God was telling me I was supposed to wait on him. And so I did. I waited until May before coming here at the end of July. And I told the pastor then, I said, I'm going to be leaving at the end of July. And at that time, I didn't have a church. But I started talking to Bayou Vista Baptist Church. And talking to Brother Charles on the phone just made it very clear to me. The Holy Spirit just spoke to me so strongly through that phone, speaking to him. And all the people that were on that search committee, they came out to Salado, Texas. And if you don't know where that is, that's close to Waco. And it's a good little drive from here. But they came out there and heard me in view of call and came here. Matthew was 3 years old. Mark was 3 months old, and Carrie wasn't born yet. Never forget, we just moved here. Vern Weber, I don't know if a lot of you remember Vern, but Retta's husband. But he worked night shifts out on the rig, and when he'd come in, he was awake at night, and so I'd wake up to him out there in the field with the tractor with the lights on mowing. Never forget that. Then, as Paul alluded, we went to Glorietta right after we got, not long after we got here, because Paul was still working with Centrifuge. So we got that opportunity. But one of the funniest things that happened was we had just come out with cell phones, where we were really carrying them around with us. And I took it with me that year. And I called AT&T and I told them, now I'm going to New Mexico and I want to know, what's it going to cost me to use this phone? Oh, they said as long as you use AT&T towers, it'll be fine. No problem. Well, what they didn't know is there's no AT&T towers there. And so it was using other people's towers. And I was letting all the youth call, because every one of the youth came down with altitude sickness. I mean, the whole group, 30-something kids. And so I was letting them all call home to tell their parents that they were okay, especially Eric Hardaway. He really got sick. Well, I got home and my bill was $350. And I called AT&T up, and believe it or not, they waived that because they had told me that it wasn't going to cost me anything. Then we had Carrie in '97. We were blessed with many babysitters. There was Dee Pisani, Myrtle O'Quinn, Hazel Emel, Billy Joe Thacker, Marcia Gilder, Retta Weber. Retta was our mainstay because she started keeping all three of her kids for us whenever we needed to. I mean, Vern was on dialysis, and boy, she'd take those kids with her for his dialysis, and she'd take them to get ice cream, and she was amazing. The whole church was amazing, how they helped us with our children. I'll never forget when Janet was pregnant with Carrie. Dee came over that night, and the next day Billy Joe Thacker showed up with food. And that's just the way the church has been to us. It's been like a family, because we don't have any blood family here, but this church has been like family to us. Every time we've ever had a need, you've always been there, no matter what we were facing. As Brother Steve said, we started doing musicals. We did them in the Berwick Civic Center, and I remember Danny Henderson and so many people that were involved in those musicals. Boy, I mean, when I first came in, I'll never forget this, Brother Charles. I came in, and for one of the first choir meetings, I told the choir that we were going to do pageants. And they like to have a heart attack. What are you talking about? We can't do something like that. We've never done that before. Well, I guarantee you we did it, and God just took it and made it like one of the greatest ministries in this church. And it wasn't me. It was just we were so blessed. We had so much talent in this church. And y'all, that's one of the callings that I've seen God give me at this church, is to take children and start them to singing. I mean, I somewhere here I've got a list. Some of them: Ben Clark, Emily Berry now, April Landry, Eddie Landry, Jill Rodri, Sarah Seeline, Matthew, Mark, Carey, Tyler, Abram, Sarah, Robert Bro, Megan Swallow, Bree Lewis. I mean, and the list goes on and on. And Dylan, I mean, man, I remember pushing Dylan for LaBasic. It was like pulling teeth. He came that first year, and he was, I mean, he went in there and did the audition perfect. And then he said, nope, not going. And then that next year, I pushed him again, and thanks to Robert and everybody else pushing, we got him. And once he got there, now Dylan's playing the keyboard, and I mean, that's just one example of what God can do. And it wasn't me, it was God. It's just God gave me that desire to help children and youth to understand that God's given them that talent. And I was just teasing Dylan the other day about, I said, you know, he didn't give you that talent to hide under a bushel, no. And that's what I've been doing all these years, is pushing these young people. We've had ministry kids. We've had Eddie Landry, Ben Clark, Brandon Robin, Matthew Powell, Jeffrey Bro, Mark Powell, Abram Gilder, Robert Bro, all these that have been called into some type of ministry. And God is continuing to do that. And I pray that could continue to be the ministry of this church, is to understand that God wants you to build those foundations, to send out. Because, you know the way it is. Most young people do not stay here in Bayou Vista. But it's our ministry as a church to build that foundation so wherever they go, they're going to go out serving the Lord. I mean, I think even some of our adults, we had Terry Werline, when I came here, was a deacon. God called him to the ministry. Brother Charles, you spoke of another man that went into the ministry. George Rogers. And so we've had adults and children and youth that God has called out of this church. And I just look back, and it just thrills my heart for God to allow me to be a part of that. And I'm in no way bragging about that. I'm giving God the glory because I know I am nothing but filthy rags. And I know that God lifted me up and saved me. And I ran from God. And I did terrible things. But God picked me up out of that mud, and he cleansed my heart, and he allowed me to be a part of this church. And I'm thankful for my wife. I had no idea when we went on that first date. Actually, it wasn't a date. We were just going to a concert, and I was taking her along as a friend because she had been helping me with children's choir. That's actually how we started, is they wanted me to do children's choir, and I couldn't do children's choir. That was my first full-time church. I had no idea how to do a children's choir. Janet had a degree in music education, was teaching K through 4th grade at Oakdale Elementary, and her brother and I were best friends. So I went across the street. She lived across the street from the church, and I asked her to come help me with children's choir. Well, even though she wasn't a member of First Baptist Oakdale, one day a week she would come over there. We would bus about 60 to 80 kids from Oakdale High School to the church, and we did musicals. We did that for 2 years. Then I asked her to go with me on that concert, and then 10 days later I asked her to marry me. Now, I was 32 years old at that time, and she was 29. But God made it so clear that she was the one to help me. And I'm thankful. I remember coming here, and Becky was on the piano, and when we didn't want to hurt Becky or push her away or anything, but I wanted Janet to be a part, so that summer we went to a music conference, and we bought a keyboard. And we brought it back here, and we had piano and keyboard for several years because I wanted Janet to be a part of that music ministry. Because you think I know music. Well, I don't know anything compared to Janet. She is the expert when it really comes to music. So I'm thankful for her. But I'm just thankful for this church, for loving me in good times and bad times, because I've made my share of mistakes, and you've loved me through it, and I thank you for that. But this is a God thing, what we're doing now. I want you to know that. God has opened this door, and what he has in store for us from this point on, Brother Charles, I don't know, but you're right. He's not through with me. that calling God placed on my heart, it's there until I take my last breath. I don't know what I'll be doing, but I'll be doing something to glorify Him, if it's at all possible. Thank y'all so much for loving me and my family. God bless.
Some of you want to say some things, I'm sure, and so I'm going to give people maybe a minute each. Don't be Marilyn Vick, please, but yeah, we'll be here to midnight. Then we'll hear the midnight cry again. But if you want to say something, I need you to stand up and address Bobby, Janet. However, we'll go as long as we need to go.
Jason and I got married 25 years ago, and at that time, I mean, y'all were here, but Alan and Nora was very special to me. So they were going to do the music for our wedding, but they could not be here for the rehearsal dinner. So Bobby kind of filled in, didn't know anything about music, but oh yeah, we'll do that, no problem. So that was how that all started. And here we are, all these years later. But being able to work with you the past 8 years has been a blessing. Keep us laughing. I will miss the whistles through the hallway and the outburst of singing walking through the hallway. But more than that, I don't think I have to say anything else about the basic and the influence that you've had on my children, which in turn has had an influence on us. Tyler will follow in your footsteps, and Dylan met Jana, and who knows what that's going to be, but I'm grateful for so many things.
Just stand up, Steve. That's fine. Go ahead.
I just want to say that the special thing about my church here was when people could just go up and sing. If their heart told them, I want to sing to the Lord today, you gave them that opportunity. And you have no idea how many lives you've touched, and those lives have touched others just through that little thing. That's what I'll always remember. We love you, Mom. Love you, Jennifer. Wish you best.
Okay. Stand up and I'll give you a mic. Okay, Johanna.
I've been trying to put my thoughts together about this. It's just something simple, but was able to go to Mission Lab with Brother Bobby and Janet, and that was such a great experience, and I just thank you for the opportunity to be able to do that. But when the guys built my dad's ramp so he could get out of the house, Brother Bobby said, well, he couldn't do the carpentry work, but he came with his umbrella because it was raining that day, and I appreciate that. Brother Bobby, one day I was coming home from Walmart. Karen, you might remember this. I saw Miss Karen walking. I felt so bad because, as usual, I was running late. I was trying to pick up, I had frozen food in the car, and I had to hurry because I had to go pick up fish for my mom, and I called him. He was in the office, and I told him what was wrong, how I wanted to pick her up so bad because it was hot, and I didn't want her to be walking like that. And he was so faithful. That's all you had to do, both he and Janet. They did so many things that people don't know.
I don't know about using microphones here.
Sister wants
to. I just shared this with Brother Bobby last week. This is something that happened when I first got saved. When you go up to the altar, they have you sit over there and you have to fill out a card.
from that card, I guess it was Brother Bobby's turn to make phone calls. He called me and encouraged me to come in and talk with Brother Steve about joining the church and about being baptized. And because of his phone call, I am a member of this church family, and I'll be forever grateful.
Now, Bobby has helped more people than you know at Walmart, because one day I was in buying some things and I didn't have enough money to pay for it. And he picked it up, the rest of the bill, and was very, very generous with what he did. And I'll never forget it, Bobby, because I told Matthew, I said, Matt, I've got money home now. I said, you need to get money to Bobby, or you need to hand it to me so I can take it to him. And I just appreciate what you did, because you did. You helped me out a whole lot. I appreciate it.
Carly and Carrie were the same age, and when Carly was in junior high, we were at a birthday party at the Swallows house, and Brother Bobby and Miss Janet and Carrie were there, and Carrie invited Carly to church. It was 2010. It was right around Valentine's Day. February 14th, 2010 was the first time I came to this church, and it was a result of Carrie inviting Carly to church. And I think that speaks volume for Miss Janet and Brother Bobby. We love you.
Wow, 26 years. A lot of memories. Our boys grew up together, Mark and Matthew and Kevin and Jeffrey. A lot of shared birthday parties. Remember those? Man, a lot of stuff. I remember Mark and Jeffrey going off the LC together. I remember that day like it was yesterday, you know. Just so much. So the RA camps, man, it's a lot of stuff to remember. A lot of memories. I'm gonna miss you guys. Thanks for the plumbing work you've done for me. Just like, you know, it's like everybody, just, man, I'm gonna miss you guys. But I'm not saying goodbye, I'm just saying see you later. We love you.
Well, we've only been here since 2012, but I will say that Bobby and Janet, Bobby was one of the first faces that welcomed us here to this church. That was a big part of why we chose to stay here. But the best memory I think I'm going to have, and you may not even know this, but when you came to me and asked me to do the lead in that play, the Christmas play that I didn't want to do that. I didn't. I'm not a big middle of the stage person. I know I sing and stuff, but it just wasn't who I was. And I prayed and I told him no, and he said, just pray about it. Just pray about it. He came over to the preschool. So I did. And I felt like for some reason God wanted me to do it. And the Spirit of God touched me so deeply on that stage during that play. It is a moment I will never forget. And I would have never done it had you not asked me. So thank you, and thank y'all for also asking me to do the kids choir once again, something I never would have done, but it has been wonderful. Thank you so much. I will always remember it.
Johanna has one thing, and it's funny.
I am the cat lady. Ask Brother Bobby about his cat story.
Anybody else? Yeah, I'm getting my steps in.
Bobby, I can remember Ben sitting back here on the back porch teaching your sons how to play guitar. And most of y'all don't know, Brother Charles went up to North Louisiana. Ben was ordained as a preacher. Because up there, he has 80-something kids on a Wednesday night. He preaches too. He also plays in their praise band. He plays guitar. And if you ever watch their broadcast on TV, he's on TV. And I thank you for getting Keller to go to La Basic. I wish they still had it because Lillian would go. And Bobby, you're going to enjoy them grandkids. Because I didn't think I'd ever take care of my grandkids. But the Lord fixed it where I take care of my grandkids. And don't be afraid to change their diapers. I love you. I know you and Dee used to play golf together. One day, Dee wrecked a golf cart at the Franklin golf court. Yeah, I remember her telling me about that. And I'm going to miss y'all. But one thing, shrimp prices are going down, y'all.
Two more, because we got to do the business meeting as well. Two more. Anybody else? Stand up. If not, we'll go right into that. All right. At this time, we're going to move into our time of business.